Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to glaze your pieces with my crystalline glaze. Currently as options I have a blue glaze which I call morning blue, a crystalline black, a crystalline green, and a crystalline clear. Over time you can expect these glazes to change and evolve a little, but for the most part the way I show you how to apply them will not change. And this is a general template you can use for glazing all your pieces. Step 1 is to grab a little piece of paper and write down your glaze combination. It's very easy to get distracted and lose track of what you were doing with a specific piece, or simply forget because you started one day and are finishing another day. I would suggest thinking about what combination you want to do and then write it down in the order that it should be applied, like I've done here. Not only would this help keep you more organized when glazing multiple pieces, but when I'm getting ready to load them into the kiln, I will see what combo you did, how you applied it, and be able to help you in ways that I may otherwise not be able to. Step 2 is to wax the foot of your piece. To use the wax pan, simply plug it in, then turn the fan and light on above it. You should never need to change the heat setting on the wax pan. It should always be just a little above warm. If it doesn't seem to be working, just press a little button in the middle of the outlet to reset it. Once the wax is hot, you want to slowly dip your piece into the wax. Rotate it 360 degrees and then slowly pull it out. You want to slowly dip it in and out while keeping it level to ensure that the air trapped inside your foot doesn't rush out. If you go too quickly, the air will cause a little burp of wax, and once the wax is on, it is very difficult to get off. If you get this little burp, I wouldn't worry too much. It's not a big deal, and it's not really worth fixing, but make a mental note to go more slowly if you want to avoid it in the future. Next, look at the underside to see if more wax is needed inside the foot. To cover this area, you want to use one of the wax brushes next to the wax pan. Set the brush in the wax pan and ensure all the wax on the brush is melted. Then hold your piece upside down and at an angle to ensure that if wax does drip off the brush, it doesn't drip on the side of your piece. Once your brush is inside the foot, you can level it out and brush the wax around. The wax on the brush will cool fairly quickly, so you only have a few moments to brush the hot wax around before you'll need to dip it back into the wax pan for more wax and more heat. Do this until your foot and its inside are completely covered in wax. Step 3. Glaze the inside. For the cups I'm glazing today, I'm going to start with Boz White for the inside. If you're doing a form that is more open, like a shallow bowl, you may want to skip this step, but for basically every single piece I do, I put a white glaze on the inside. I like doing this because food just looks good with a white background, and any soup or tea won't show its true color without it. Before using the glaze, roll up your sleeves and mix it up. While mixing it up, you don't want to simply spin it. You want to also lift everything that is settled at the bottom and bring it to the top. Think about the consistency. When we first mix the glaze, it has a little extra water, but as it sits around, that water slowly evaporates. It will take a while to build this sensitivity, but getting a feel for the glaze and knowing if it feels thick or thin can give you the insight you need to know if you should do a quick dip or a slow dip to ensure you get a coat of glaze that is the thickness you want. Once the glaze is thoroughly mixed, grab a mug, scoop some of it up, and pour it into your piece. Twirl it around the edges and then pour it out while spinning the piece. This will allow you to get an even coat of glaze throughout the inside without getting any on the outside. We do the inside before the outside, so that if you do dribble on the outside, you can simply wipe it off. You can normally go straight to the next step, but if your piece is relatively thin and you can see the moisture from the outside, I would let it air dry for at least 15 minutes before continuing. Step 4. Glaze the bottom. With the crystalline glaze, you need to be concerned about running. So when using them, I would suggest using another glaze on the bottom 1/3 to buffer it. Mix the glaze you want to use, Then simply hold your piece level and dip it in. Once you pull it out, I would shake it up and down so that the glaze beading around your wax foot falls off. Hold it right side up and use a sponge to pull excess glaze that is beaded around the foot and on top of the wax. Once the foot is clean, you can set it down. Step 5, glazing the top. Now we finally get to use the crystalline glaze. When mixing it, you will feel that it is thicker than the others, and this is normal. The crystalline glazes aren't that abnormal, they just have more zinc. But settling can be a much more severe issue. Because of this issue, I add some extra gumming agents, and that is why the glaze feels so goopy. Once the glaze is mixed, simply hold your piece upside down and dip it in slowly, then pull it out slowly. You want the two glazes to overlap a little, but just a little. The crystalline glaze will run in the firing, and if there's too much overlap, there's going to be too much running. One thing that is unique to the crystalline glazes is because of the gumming agents I add, the glaze takes a long time to dry. To deal with this, simply hold it in the air a few extra moments, and then set the piece on a drying rack. This is the one time and the one place that it's okay to leave your bisque piece upside down. Let it dry like this for 30 minutes or so, then take a good look at the rim and the rest of your piece. What you want to see is an even coat of glaze and a clean application. Touch up any spots that you think you need to touch up, then take your little note with the glaze combination, put it inside your piece, and leave it on the shelf. Your work is done. Step 6 is the glaze firing. When I load a glaze, I will scoop up your piece, put it in the kiln, and heat it up to cone 9, which is pottery lingo for 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. It will take about 16 hours to heat up and about 20 hours to cool off. I'll try to do glaze firings as frequently as possible, and depending on how much stuff students are pumping out, you can expect to receive your piece back in 1 to 2 weeks. Step 7, the secret sauce. After I unload the kiln, all the crystalline pieces get soaked in acid, then soaked in baking soda and water to neutralize the acid, then soaked in water to ensure they are clean. The acid bath etches the glass surface of the glaze and does two things: brightens the colors a bit and makes the glaze more food safe. While I don't use any of the nasty stuff like cadmium or lead, you still don't want any of that copper or cobalt leaching into your morning coffee. Step 8. Take your piece home. Enjoy it. Did a good job.